Hey there guys, Luke here with the Outdoor Gear Review. Hope you're all doing well. Today for this episode, I'm going to be showing you guys how to set up a simple A-frame tarp configuration. You know, I've done this before in the past, and you guys asked for a little bit more information, a little bit more on how to. So you guys asked, you shall receive. I'm up in the woods right now, and I've been kind of scouting out a pretty good spot, and this one's not bad. There's quite a bit of debris on the ground, but we can take care of that. Also, overhead, we don't have any dead branches. Nothing we have to worry about falling on our tarp or on us later on. The location itself is fairly flat, so you can be pretty comfortable when you're laying down. Also, there's a slight little slope to this, and that means that the water will rush downhill away from us instead of pulling underneath our tarp, which is definitely a plus. Now, when I decided to make this video, I hopped on YouTube and I did a little bit of searching about A-frame tarps and their setups. And one thing became immediately apparent is that most of the videos on there were shot with a toaster, and you can hardly understand what the people were saying. So for the sake of this video, you guys are going to have some pretty good quality, and I'm going to make sure that you guys have some good audio, and I'm going to show you each of the steps along the way. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning up the area some, and then we'll actually get to raising the tarp. Guys, get comfortable. We'll get started. So like I said, guys, the first step is just to kind of clean up camp. I'm going to pick up all the loose sticks, I'm going to knock down the briars, so on and so forth. Alright guys, we have our area pretty much cleaned up. Now we're ready to throw up our ridge line. So I have 2 trees already picked out. And of course, there's many ways of doing this. You may not have 2 trees. You can actually use sticks. You can use trekking poles. But the simplest way is just to use 2 trees. So I'll go ahead and show you those now. We have this tree right here. We'll run a ridge line from it all the way over to that tree right there. Now for the sake of this video, we're just going to be using some 550 cord. You can of course use any type of cordage that you want to, whatever you may happen to have. So here we go. Here's our 550 cord. Now when it comes to actually setting up your ridge line and using your 550 cord, I always do my best not to cut this thing up into multiple pieces. I'd rather leave this whole if I can. Now of course if I need a section for this or that, maybe a guy line, I'll cut a piece off later. It's always better if you leave your cordage in one piece. So I'm going to first take my 550 cord, I'm going to go to this tree here and set it up. So basically what you want to do for your basic A-frame configuration is attach the ridge line to the tree at about waist level. Now of course there's many ways to do it. You can do it higher and where you have your tarp not actually touching the ground. You know, to each their own. It really depends on the conditions that you're going to be in with what you can get away with. Since I have so much cordage, I'm going to wrap it around twice. And of course, this is what I call a rough ridge. You will make your adjustments later on. So basically, you just need to have it tied off. And like I said before, you will adjust it later. So we got this tree done. We're going to now go over to our other one. Now we'll go ahead and string up our ridge line to the second tree. And like I said before, it's going to be rough. You'll, of course, fix that later. Okay. Awesome. All right, folks. We have our ridge line put up right here, connected between both trees. Now we'll go ahead and get the tarp out, and we will drape that over the top of our ridge line. Now for the sake of this video, we are using a Sill Tarp 1, which is very lightweight, pretty small. This thing comes in at only 8 ounces with the stuff sack, 7 ounces without the stuff sack. Like I said before, we'll go ahead and just drape this over the ridge line, and then we'll move on to staking it out and making further adjustments. So now guys, we have it on our ridge line. Now we're ready to stake it out and get our basic shape. Then of course we can fine tune it at the end. For this video, we'll use some stakes, and we have some additional guy lines, which we will use to kind of stake this out. Now when it comes to staking it out, of course you'll do your 4 corners first. Right here, and then of course, right here, and on the opposite side. And of course, you'll just do this loosely, and then you'll tune it later on. I have these 2 sides staked out. Now I'll go to the other side as well. So check that out. You can see how this is finally coming together. You have a good pitch, and then you will adjust it once you get it done. For the most part now, it's been staked out roughly. Now we're going to go ahead and make our adjustments and make it taut. Really expand it and open it up. And of course, you will do that on both sides. Okay. Perfect. The tarp has been set up, everything's been tightened and adjusted, and it's pretty much ready to go. It's a ready to go shelter. I'll go ahead and grab the camera now and bring you guys in and show you everything just a little bit closer up. Okay, so here we go. You have the ridge line tied to the tree, goes all the way over, and it goes to this tree here. You have the tarp itself draped over that ridge line, and you have it staked out in your 4 corners, both sides, and on the other side as well. And I'll show you what it looks like on the inside here. Check that out. Now, if you threw down some sort of ground cover, you can easily sleep in this and be fully protected from the elements. Now, speaking of the elements brings us to our next point. This is a very basic A-frame setup. It's secured, you know, it's guy lined out and all that good stuff. But if the weather turns bad, or if you're expecting harsher weather, there's things you can do to make it stronger and more secure. You can also lower it closer to the ground. Say if it's windy, it's blowing some rain, you can bring one side down or both sides down to the ground if you need to. And all that you need to do is just adjust the ridge line. Pretty simple. Also, if you were expecting it to get really windy, you can go from the middle of the tarp on each side, and you could guy that out as well, making it just that much stronger on each side. You could also use the middle attachment points, and you can tie those out to a tree on both sides and make it that much stronger as well. Now, my friends, there are a couple more things that you can do if you're expecting rainy weather. One thing you can do, you can tell by the slope of the land which way that water will run. So based on that information that you have with the spot that you select, if it's going to rain, you may want to dig a trench around your tarp. So any water that collects from the tarp goes around the tarp itself and not underneath it where you're at. With this tarp and the slope of the land, it goes down at a slight angle like so. So what we would have to worry about is water that's sheeting off of this side of the tarp onto the ground and coming in underneath us. So what we can do is take a stick, take a rock, and you could dig a trench all the way around this and have it so that the water will be diverted around where you're camping at. That way you prevent the water from building up and coming up underneath where you're at. So after you have your trench dug, when you're expecting rainy weather, something else that you need to address is the ridge line itself. If it's pouring the rain, that water will collect on this ridge line, and of course it will go to the lowest point. The lowest point on your ridge line will of course be where you have your tarp draped over it. That weight of course is pulling that down. So what you need to set up is a drip line, and you can do this a number of different ways, and a very simple way is just to tie a piece of cordage to it, just like so. You can have that right next to your tarp. That water will roll down that ridge line, hit your drip line, and of course, fall to the ground. And you can do that on both sides. So there you have it, guys. That is just a basic, simple way to set up an A-frame tarp configuration. In the future, I'll show you guys different types of knots and also different configurations of tarp shelters. Of course, like I mentioned before, there's many ways to skin a cat. With this one, this configuration has the A-frame tarp not flush with the ground. It's a little bit raised up and allows more airflow. If the weather is going to be really bad, you may want to lower that and have your tarp actually flush with the ground itself to keep those elements out. Now guys, here's a pro tip. When it comes to staking out your tarp, you have your guy lines, of course, going out to your stakes, or if you have it flush to the ground, you might have the stakes right in the loops or the grommets, so on and so forth. You never ever put rocks or logs or whatever on the tarp itself to hold it down. That will not work. It will always end very poorly for you. It will become a sail. It'll throw that stuff off. It can also tear up your tarp. Every once in a while, you'll see a video where someone's setting up a tarp and they're using rocks on top of the material itself. I promise you that's a fantastic way of tearing it up. That is not how anybody with experience will do it. You will always want to stake it out. You can use stakes, you can use sticks, you can actually tie your guy lines to rocks. As with most things in life, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. There's many right ways and many wrong ways as well. And when you put a rock or some sort of debris on top of your tarp, that is always the wrong way to go about it. So there you have it, guys. That is how you set up a basic A-frame tarp configuration. If you guys have any questions for me, please feel free, drop me a line, let me know. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible, of course. You guys make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out our Facebook page, The Outdoor Gear Review, and our website at theoutdoorgearreview.com. Everyone, be well.